What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast, man. I got a special guest today. This is Matt PLESS. He is a musician. I feel like he falls under the folk punk umbrella pretty comfortably. So, yeah, man, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So, I am relatively new to your music, so this will be a learning type of podcast for me too, which is always kind of fun for me. I get to ask random questions and learn about the musician. So, man, it's funny. I was sitting in here and getting ready to like set up, and I hear this crash, and I have to film at my house. So I'm like, what was that noise? I go out in the hallway. My daughter's holding her head, like crying basically, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I was doing a flip on my bed. I was like, bro, what are we? Is this what is this how today's gonna go? So, but yeah, man. So. Okay, first and foremost, I posted some stuff on TikTok, so I got to know you through TikTok. It's weird. It feels kind of like I know you a little bit already. It's strange how these platforms will do that. Is the we'll see somebody on there, and all of a sudden you feel like you know them. It's really interesting. But how long have you been playing music, and has it always been this type of music?
Well, no, it hasn't always been this type of like music, but I guess it's always fallen sort of under the umbrella of like some sort of punk, whatever that is to people. I've been playing music. I started writing songs when I was 7 years old, and that was kind of like me just writing. I used to like the Monkees, and I used to write like songs like in the style of like the Monkees, like verse, chorus, verse, like a catchy little hook, and I just sing them in front of my class off a piece of paper and like snap my fingers and stuff. And but I didn't start playing with the guitar and stuff till I was in my high school years. And I played in the punk band that I started called Three Prong Outlet. And it was kind of like old East Bay Green Day kind of stuff. Lookout Records vibes, pop punk.
Nice.
Yeah, and I did the singing and the writing and the guitar playing for that. And then when that ended during it kind of ended because the hardcore emo boom happened, and people in my band kind of wanted to move in that direction, and I just wasn't into all that. Hey, cats, no, stop, hold on, I gotta
dude,
this is Poe. Here he is.
What's up, Poe? It's all good, man. This is what I love about podcasting is things like that happen that you weren't expecting. Yeah, dude, I was not moving in that direction either with music when that stuff was happening. I totally understand not wanting to do that. If that's what you're genuinely into, whatever, do what you want to do, right? But man, I'm not trying to do something just because it's a trend. That stuff comes and goes anyways.
Yeah, no, totally. And it wasn't me. I mean, I wasn't even into doing the style of like, I guess like pop punk that was going on at the time. It was like when I was doing that in the early 2000s, it was like Newfound Glory and like Fall Out Boy stuff, and I was still like writing kind of like mid 90s, Mr. T Experience or like
Dude, that is a good band.
yeah, they're great. They're great. Dr. Frank is an underrated lyricist for sure. Yeah, so that's what I did at first, and then finally when I just kind of like I got into Bob Dylan, and I started kind of thinking, well, I kind of want to write lyrics more like this. And this is kind of, I just started going in that direction. So I left the punk thing kind of behind a bit, got really into folk music. And at the time, I didn't think I was playing what became known as like folk punk or whatever. But looking back, it's like I was kind of basically just like playing fast acoustic punk music, thinking it was like Bob Dylan-y like stuff. But I went to New York City and kind of learned finger picking and got really into actual rootsy folk music. And I think that's maybe how my stuff sort of started to expand beyond just what straightforward folk punk is. I have folk punk songs and people kind of throw me in that category. I've never called myself that, like as like I set out to play this. It's kind of how it developed. Ultimately, I'm just trying to write good songs, man. Like if if you're ready, what's up?
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah, that's the goal, is to write good music. You don't, whether or not it fits in a box is irrelevant. You want it to just be something that people gravitate towards. When somebody hears your music, you want them to go. I mean, that's what happened with me. I heard your music on TikTok, and I was like, "Dang, this dude's good, man." and I liked your vocals and I liked your lyrics a lot. Like that stuff stands out to me as your vocals and your lyrics. So I was like, well, it just kept popping up, and I was like, man, this is telling me something. I go to Spotify, start listening to it. I covered it on my stream last night even, and like, yeah, dude, like it's really good. Like I personally really enjoy it, you know.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so but I have a theory that, like I always say it, like if a song sounds good naked, you can dress it up any way you want. It's always gonna be a good song. Meaning, like, if you can sing it in the shower without any instruments and it still sounds like a good song, you can dress it up as like a punk song or like hip hop or like metal, alternative, country, whatever. And it's always gonna be a good song because at the core of it, there's a good, like, you know, energy to that, like, you know, combination of lyrics and music. And that's what I'm trying to ultimately do. But I think, like, I guess kind of the way I've gone about like conducting my business or whatever is like more in like the DIY punk realm over the years. You know, I don't necessarily want to remain in that sort of like realm of having to constantly hustle, you know, do it all on yourself, all on your own. You know, it's hard to be a solo guy doing that. Like I think I'd like to get a label at some point that was more legit and, you know, just kind of go beyond where it's at. Cause I think there's a ceiling. I think there's a ceiling for like the DIY world. And if you're happy with that, then that's totally fine. But if you want to go beyond that, I think, you know, that's fine too. I'm really not someone who's like a gatekeeper about what someone should do with their art. You know, you do.
Yeah.
If I want to continue listening or if I continue liking it, that's my decision, you know, but
right.
I don't hold anything.
That's a good way to look at it. As far as like having a ceiling on the DIY thing, are you into hip hop at all?
Yeah. I've done some of that too.
You know, it honestly, it sounded like I was listening to, I think it was the song you dropped this year, the one in March. And it had like a very hip hop, the way you were presenting the lyrics, the flow of it was definitely like a da 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 da. Instead of a la, it had more of a, you know, it was more of a like a, I don't know how to call it, man, like a machine gun beat to it versus like a melody, I guess is the way. I don't know. It still had a melody, but like, you know what I'm saying? It sounded like you were at least experimented with hip hop at some point. But my point was that there's groups like Suicide Boys out there that they're still a DIY group and they're selling out these huge arenas because they popped off. So I guess getting label help is a huge deal. But I don't think that there's necessarily a ceiling. It depends on how much you want to work, because it is a lot more work. It's a lot more work to do it. It depends on what your personal goals are, because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there, I guess, now that I'm saying it out loud.
No, I can agree with that. Ceiling might have been the wrong word. I mean, ultimately, I do think there's, man, look, I think some people are better at the business end of this and the art end and vice versa, and some can do it both. You know, I think if you're someone who knows how to, like, the more left brain side of, like, you know, the music biz, you maybe can parlay what you're doing into a have an easier time like getting it like bigger and maintaining that. Because for me, it's kind of like, I know people who've gone viral on TikTok or whatever and blown up, but they don't really know how to parlay that into a sustaining career. It's just
correct.
For the moment, they're big and they got this one song, and the next thing you know, who the hell was that? We forgot all about them. But you know, there's aspects to like labels that, like, you know, I know they can screw you over and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it really just depends on there's also bands that doesn't screw over. I mean, like anything in life, it's all circumstantial, I think, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I believe that there is just, you know, there's a little bit of luck and stuff, if you want to call it that.
There's quite a bit of luck involved, I would say. And it's funny because whether or not there is a right or wrong way, because I think you're pretty right about that. There's each person's going to have their own individual lane that they're going to be the most successful in, and being able to look back and take yourself out of it personally and go, okay, I need this in order to succeed. That's a valuable trait, man, because a lot of people are too proud to do that. They're like, oh, I can do it all by myself. And so, you know, because I mean, I run a little tape label and stuff, man. I know how it is. It's a lot of work. You know, I do all my own stuff on YouTube. I'm the one that reaches out. I'm the one that does the scheduling, the filming, the editing. It's a lot of work, man. So I guess in hindsight, I'm already talking in hindsight. It's only been 5 minutes. Like I would already think like, yeah, I guess having somebody to help me out would be that'd be nice. It'd be nice. So I come from DIY. I've been doing it for a long, long time. I guess I get a little protective over that. It's weird, man. It's a weird thing because even as far as streaming is concerned, this is something I was going to ask you anyway. So I just had the very first piece of anything I've ever done ever. It's an image that's on Spotify that I created. And I was really proud of that. I was like, dude, that's awesome, man. I never thought, because I'm not a musician anymore. I've been that in 15 years. So how does it feel to see that you've got like a 2.5 million stream song, when it's almost at 1 million, you got a bunch at 500,000? Like, that's got to feel crazy, right? To see that your music is getting that kind of attention out there, and it's all something you've done by yourself.
Yeah, no, it definitely, it's really cool. I sometimes it surprises me that the songs that have gotten those, I mean, like Ashtray is the big one. I don't know really how that happened. But the thing is, like, it's like that to me is like it's hitting folk punk, that crowd. Like if I look at the other bands that like are being listened to along with me on my Spotify stats, it's all folk punk. It's very like locked in there. And the one thing I've noticed about people in the genre, I see on Reddit and stuff, and you know, people can be monsters, but like I see people like on comments on YouTube and stuff, and like, you know, I don't think my stuff is kind of a little bit more broader range than just folk punk, and the folk punk songs kind of hit the folk punk kids, but then they kind of go into the other stuff, and it sort of fractures that demographic as far as like whether they like it still or not. Because like I think I'm one of the few people in the folk punk like genre or scene that has like a lot of different styles of music he does. And you know, it can be hard to kind of follow or pigeonhole that, but like I said, I wasn't concerned with being like this or that. I just songs, you know, and a handful of my songs that I've written sound very folk punky. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even know like how you like define what punk is at this point. You know, it's such an umbrella term.
Oh, dude, trying to define what punk is that's a job that cannot be completed, my friend. You can't do, like, I mean, you can, but you can't. It's a double-edged sword. You do it once, you're like, oh yeah, he knows what he's talking about, and then at the same time, somebody else on the other side is going to go, oh, he's an elitist prick. So like, no matter what you say, you're wrong. No matter what you say, you're probably a little bit right. But I was just thinking, it's got to feel pretty awesome to be able to see that your music's resonating with somebody. And as far as like folk punk that also has other elements of other genres in it, dude, have you heard of the Co-Defendants fellas?
I have. They're really good.
Yeah, Cheshky and him. I didn't even know he was in that world, really. And so there's all kinds of overlap, man. I think no matter what you do, because you write good music, and so like you said earlier, that's what your goal is. That's what matters. I would say that you're already successful in that, you know, with that goal to some degree. So I think you're gonna be all right, man. I think that folk punk kids latch on to stuff, but the music's good and the message is solid. So ultimately, I think it'll reach people that are outside of that genre. Because pigeonholing yourself is also it's a plus and a negative, man. There's pros and cons to everything. So being like the street punk kid is cool, but it does have limitations.
You can sell if you're talking about like selling your product or whatever is music, if that's where you're going. It's easier to sell it to a demographic if it is pigeonholable, because you can just say this is where we're shooting the market and blah blah blah.
That's true.
I don't really think that way, and I don't know how I would sling my stuff on the market anyway. I don't really. My brain doesn't operate like that, but I do know that I see people all across the spectrum from all different types of folks in different circles like my stuff, and getting them all to show up at a show sometimes is a little bit more difficult than just like, you know, like train kids, or like, you know, like the kids who are more into like folk punk or like street punk or whatever. Like you'll see like sort of a gathering of like-minded individuals, and people I think sometimes feel like more comfortable with like, you know, this is my like, you know, tribe or whatever. Like, and you know, so I don't know.
Well, sometimes you find a lane by accident. You don't even realize that that's what you need to be doing. Like, just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean that it's not what you're supposed to be doing. I find myself doing things all the time that I'm good at, that I'm like, okay, well, maybe I didn't really want to do this, but I need to, for whatever reason. It could be for monetary reasons. It could be for helping your friends or family out. It doesn't, you know, whatever the reason is whatever the reason is. But yeah, sometimes you just stumble into a lane and realize that, oh man, I'm good at this. It's better than working in some place in a suit all day for, you know, 10, 11 hours a day, hating your life. Like there's nothing worse than that. Like zero to me. I can't imagine doing that. I got tattooed on my neck at a very young age, and my mom asked me why I did it. She wasn't even that mad. She was not even that surprised. She was just disappointed, I think. And I said, I don't ever want to wear a suit to work. And she's like, you nailed that one. And I thought, all right, I'm 41 now, and I work for myself. It was a long, hard road, but, you know, worth it in the end, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's I don't want to be working in an office. That's for sure. It's never been my.
Right.
I'd rather just like kind of what's it called? Just playing it by ear. Just like I don't really have. I never had a plan or direction. I was just always doing art and writing music and like going to college and all that stuff. I never really knew what I was doing. Didn't really stick around in that. I just kind of hit the road. I dropped out of my first semester of college when I was like 18 and just went on tour for the first time and like never came back.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like but yeah, I would say I forget where we were at with that, but like yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, DIY is in your bones. It's very clear.
Yeah, I mean, if you have your DIY is like if you want to do it, you're gonna find a way to do it, whether or not you're happy doing it DIY or not. You're gonna just do it, so you're inherently gonna do DIY, So
at least there's a road for us to do stuff like that, man. I've back in the day, I mean, it was so much harder to do this stuff, man. It's awesome to see people can do it. I do want to switch subjects a little bit because I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask. Sure. One was that I was listening to your music. And then like last night, I do a live stream on Sundays where we just kind of showcase either new people or people I'm going to have on the show, whatever. It's just my night to showcase music I'm not super familiar with and share it with my audience. And I was listening to your lyrics pretty closely. And I was like, man, something must have happened with this dude regarding religion. Am I missing the mark there? Or did you have like an experience when you were younger? Because I grew up in a very religious household and it's gotten to be a strange part of my life. And yeah, I just wanted to ask you about that. What's how's your?
I don't really have. I think you're looking for an answer that's probably not as exciting as the one I have. I don't.
Hey, that's.
I did grow up in I grew up in a household that wasn't particularly like overbearingly religious, but like my parents had us do like communion and all that stuff, and then somewhere around like age 10, like they stopped going to church and everything just stopped. And no one ever in my family kind of like talked much about it. It was just something I fucking had to go and do on Sundays. I thought it was just like God, I have to go to baseball practice. I got to go to school. I got to go to like it was just another thing you had to fucking do. But I don't remember thinking much about. I don't know. I never had a moment where I was like my faith is destroyed. It was like
sure.
I never really had it to begin with. It was just like,
okay.
I never really thought about it much. It was just this thing you got to dress up and fucking do on Sundays. Like my mom has this story on Easter Sunday when I was like 3 or 4 years old, very young. She said it was really crowded and there was the whole church packed with people, and she took us in, and I was in her arms because like we had to stand up in the back with a bunch of people standing. There's no seats, and I kept whining because I was a kid making noise, and she told me, whispered in my ear, she says, "We're in the house of Jesus. You have to be quiet." And she said that I screamed at the top of my lungs, "I hate Jesus and I want to go home."
Hey, that's
the whole like church stopped, just turned and looked at us, and but yeah, I think that's a funny story. But yeah,
that is a funny story, dude. I love stories like that. Those are hilarious. Kids are awesome, bro. Got 3 of them, and they're amazing children. They're pains in my ass sometimes, so they're awesome.
I would say when I think of lyrics, I don't set out to write a song about this.
Okay.
They just pop in my head. So any lyrics about religion and stuff that have come in there, they just popped in my head, and I've like felt good about them and said, okay, this is
okay.
I'm gonna write about it.
Well, I was thinking that maybe you associated with that it was more or less not necessarily that you had an experience with it. Or is that maybe because I was trying to figure it out myself, and I thought, okay, he either had an experience that he wasn't happy with, or he doesn't like the idea of organized religion and being told what to do all the time, because that's where I have my problems, is that I don't
like what to do. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Like it's one of those things where, and I am sort of religious. I'm gonna be transparent about it. I don't push my thoughts or beliefs on anybody else. That's a waste of time. But like, yeah, that's where my issues lies, that I don't like necessarily to be told, hey, you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way. It's exhausting, man. And it's just like, bro, I think you're miserable, so you're trying to make me miserable. Why don't you try to be happy, and then we'll all be happy together? I think that was something we could probably do if we wanted it as a people,
I think, I mean, I would say I'm spiritual. Like, I don't believe that. I'm not someone who's just like completely like, this is the concrete of things and that's that.
Yeah.
Like, I always give everything a 1% chance as being possible. But I don't know. I guess like, I think if you're any sort of philosophical thinker, or artists trying to like figure out. I mean, artists are out there. At least my definition is you make art to try to make sense of the world you're in, so other people can kind of get something out of that and take it to whatever level they need to in their life. So I really think if you're like a serious thinker, you have to like address religion to some degree. I mean, and I think like whatever has popped in my head is probably due to my subconscious, just like it comes out from what you've consumed, what your life has been like, what's going on in the world, and like I'm always kind of looking and watching and thinking about stuff. So I think naturally having any sort of questioning religion it's important. I mean, it's the one thing you really, well, not the one thing, but it's one of the things that you can't. It's all faith based. You can't really be like, this is definitely happening. So I don't know. I think it's hard for me to sit. I would love to be able to just be like, yeah, it's gonna be all good. Like there's a kingdom in the clouds, and like my fucking all my friends are there, and like my buddy who killed himself is gonna be there too. Like it's just like, but like all this stuff doesn't like line up in the way like people say things happen, especially in like Christianity, which is our Catholicism, which is like what I grew up with. So like it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I would like it. It sounds great, I don't want to be in a box where like you're just rotting away. Like I'm personally, I think the idea of like heaven in the traditional Catholic sense sounds pretty fun, except for the fact that they keep like people out who basically are me and everyone that I know.
That's bro. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, bro, because I so deeply understand that. It's because it's a very personal thing, man. I think for everybody that's involved in it in any way, shape, or form, it's extremely personal. And when you start talking to people and telling them that they're wrong or that their way of thinking is wrong, you're gonna upset some people, man. And it's like, bro, I think organized religion is very I don't know, man. I get a weird feeling from it. I think it was more or less supposed to have been a grassroots movement, man. It's supposed to be like small groups of people all over the place have their own little thing going on. I may be wrong, but it sure feels like that to me when I visit the little places. You're like, oh, this seems so much more natural because there's like 25 people in here and they're just doing their thing and they left to go have lunch, and then that was pretty simple. Like, I don't know. They're just trying to do right, I guess. Religion's not a topic people really want to hear about a whole lot, but I was just curious based on your lyrics, like kind of where you fell on that.
Yeah, I really think you just gotta find your own way. I mean, I don't know. I'm a big proponent in freedom. Like I think
yes.
I think I'm a big believer in freedom. I think you have the free will, or we at least presume we do. You have something, and I don't know. You find your way. I do think people. I've noticed as people get older, a lot of people I know seem to either find faith again of some kind, or when they get scared of the inevitable end, they tend to kind of start looking more into it. I see people being more like anti it at younger ages when it's like further away, the impending doom. But like, I'm not one to tell anyone what to think or do. I can't. I'm not gonna be able to. I don't even know what to tell you. I mean, I would say, hopefully your religion isn't one that excludes people for being who they are, and like I think everything is based in just love, just like if you can just love people, like it'll come back around. And that's really the easiest way to just be alive is just love, But
right.
so much shit does not allow that. Religion in particular, leaves huge chunks of people feeling completely fucking shit on and outcasted. And that's like something I don't like. So,
yeah.
But like I'm saying, what can I, it's caused more wars than a lot of things in this world, But,
yeah. It is weird how it's at least meant to be based on a book I've read, kind and stuff, and it has caused a lot of violence and such. But it's funny that you mentioned the people later in life coming to terms with it or exploring it more or whatever, because that's extremely common. And that is one thing that when I see it, I go, man, if that's the way that everybody behaves, like, maybe something inherently is like inside of us. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it makes me not want to just be like, all right, screw it, I'm out. Is because I'm like, well, because I'm middle-aged, I'm 41, I'm halfway done, like, or maybe more. And I'm like, okay. So it's so life is complicated, man. It's not easy. It's never gonna be. So
you get scared real quick when they're in that final
bro.
hour.
Well, it's like the guys in the foxhole in war. The first thing that they do is they start going, oh man, even like the
It gives you hope, and there's no hope, I guess. I mean, people need hope.
Yeah,
and that's something that I think people need something, and that's why that's there. That option is there. But when I start my cult, everyone's welcome unless you don't want someone in there who's a nice person.
Dude, I like that response though, that they want hope when there is none. Maybe that's a great response, because that's not what I was thinking at all. I wasn't thinking anything. I was more questioning, but that was a wonderful response. As far as your lyrical style is concerned, you're clearly educated. How do you go about writing your lyrics? Is it something that you set out and try to do, or does it just come to you and you write it down?
It just comes to me and I write it down. I don't. I want to answer this question. I'm the last person to ask about how to write a song. I have no idea.
Let's go. You're pretty damn good at it for somebody that doesn't know how to do it. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, because man, it's like if you had a car, right, and you're a mechanic, and the car's fucking up, you know how the fucking car works. You can go fix it. Like, I don't know how songwriting or creativity necessarily works. It's a very invisible sort of thing. It's like being an antenna and tapping into some other sort of like place that we can't see. And I think when you have that kind of like process, how the hell are you supposed to explain how it works? You say, okay, well, I don't know, man, smoke some weed and mumble shit into the air and walk in a circle and fucking dump ripped up toilet paper on the floor with like words on it and see what it spells out. I don't know, like, figure out your way. Like it's I don't know, man. I would say actually, in some ways, songwriting and like creativity in general has been sort of a, I guess, religious type of thing for me, or spiritual. Okay. I'll say spiritual, because I don't know where those songs come from, where the lyrics come from. I do know that like I do know that I know when they're good, and I know when it needs to be finished and completed, and I have a knack for a catchy melody and a clever turn of phrase, and I usually know when people will enjoy it.
That's awesome.
So there's some sort of connection thing. I always would say I feel like a lightning rod sometimes, because it's just you're just open to whatever's going to be coming through to you, and that's the spiritual part of it for me. And I think that's kind of what I would say is my one of the things that I kind of cling tightest to is it gives me a belief that there might be something else. What that is, I don't know, but I know all that a collective consciousness, whatever it is, that's putting that out there that I'm receiving, and then interpreting in a way that is relatable to other people in this physical realm, is something that is possibly maybe it's from that's evidence of something else maybe to me, but might just be circumstance or luck. I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
Well, I mean, dude, I mean, we were only talking for 20, 30 minutes now, and I really enjoy speaking with you, man, because the way that you are thinking and explaining things, while you may think that there's no definite answer there, I think that there is some definite answers. It's just that the definite answer is that we may not know, and people don't like to hear that. People want to speak in absolutes, and that's really, really difficult when you've only done a certain amount of things. I, for one, have never left Texas, so I can't speak about California or New York or Chicago or Europe or Canada or Mexico with very much authority, because I don't know it. I haven't been there. And so I was a lyricist at one point. I was the vocalist of a couple of bands, and so I still write a lot. I just don't sing it anymore. But whenever it comes to me, it's weird, because it's probably similar to you. I'll be driving, and I'll have a whole entire song just pop in my head, and I'm like, how the hell does that happen? I can't sit down and write for the life of me. But if I'm just doing my life, it'll come to me.
Yep, that's kind of it. I want to rephrase what I said. I can write a song just sitting there. You say, write this, I'll do it. Is it special? Is it does it have that energy to it that something like when the freight wind blows or whatever it has? No, it doesn't. I don't think so, at least. But I have a high standard for myself. I know when I'm receiving something that's kind of really got that energy to it, that's almost magical, and I know when I've just kind of thrown it together and dialed it in.
Yeah.
But I talk to people who don't write songs, and they're just like, oh, dude, what you just dialed in is great. I could never do that. So it's there's also that sort of just my experience makes it so it's I know when something is really more what's the word? Something more profound, I guess, than just it's a word I would use. So I don't know. I can do it without just like getting that spark, but mostly I have to just wait till it happens. Like that song "Ashtray" that has like a million views or whatever on Spotify. That was written in like 25, 30 minutes, like just quick, like boom, 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 all done. And
I hear that from a lot of musicians though, that it just kind of comes all at once, bam. I
yeah.
mean, earlier you were talking about how if you write something, you were saying like if it's good naked, it's good dressed up, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah. If it sounds good naked, it'll sound good dressed up anyway. Like if you dress a song up in a certain style, like whatever genre, it'll always be a
yeah.
good song because the song sounds good just with an acoustic guitar and your vocals.
Well, but yeah, yes. I mean, that's if it sounds good like that, it should sound good any way that you decide to release it or show it to people. But I mean, shoot, my favorite band, Rancid, they that's how they write their music. They write all of it acoustically, and then they're like, okay, we're happy with it, and then they go in and they work it into electric instruments, and then they get a punk rock sound out of it. If they wanted to do folk punk albums or folk albums or whatever you want to call it, acoustic albums, I'm sure they would be successful. They're good songwriters,
Yeah.
and that's the key to success is being able to do it right, and then you do it how you want to do it.
Yeah, like Tim's acoustic album and stuff. I mean, that's like just basically folk songs. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
like that's like what I mean. Dude, punk rock, like at least the melodic, more poppy punk rock is. I mean, it's essentially if you take a punk rock song and like slow it down a bit and put some fucking slide guitar in it and like you can or speed up Taylor Swift, you got a punk song like a pop
yeah.
punk. Like I mean, speed it up and put distortion on it. I mean, these are all just like catchy 4-chord basic. It's like
That's why punk bands always cover pop songs.
exactly. Like, there's not that much difference between these. Like, it's just a good fucking song. Like, I mean, somebody's got a cowboy hat and someone's got a fucking chain. It's like
Yeah. So what kind of packaging do you like? Do you want it looking like this or like that? That's really the question at the end of the day. What is your favorite flavor? You know what I'm saying? Because it's all protein, it's all food, it's all music, it's all art. What do you like it to look like and sound like?
yeah.
Here.
Like right now, I'm a cowboy. Right now, I'm a hippie. So it's like
Let's go. Well, that lettuce too, bro. I'm telling you, dude, your hair is fantastic, dude. Not to get on a weird rant, but I freaking love your hair, bro. Like legit, I got like the worst thin white guy hair of all time, and I look at your hair and I'm like, why not me? It's beautiful.
Thanks, man. It's a little ratty today, but we're working on it.
That's awesome. Are you guys touring right now? Or okay, so am I? You've got other people that play with you, right? That tour with you?
I've gone on tours with other people. It's very hard to get. I mean, in my experience as a solo artist who can't afford to like pay people a shit ton of fucking money,
right?
It's very hard to get like a tour together where you have a full band going. Plus, like I would love to do more band tours, but I don't have the personnel available because you gotta find people who can get off of work, who can leave their families, who are good at playing, who like your music, who can play for cheap. There's so much in there.
There's it's a big checklist.
Yeah, so it's like if you're in a band, it's just like not like Matt Pless and the So-and-So. It's just like a band called the Couch Cushions. Then people might be more prone to just go out and do it because they feel like they're part of their own project. Maybe I don't know, but like it's really hard to like getting a tour together right now. It's tough with a full band. And I noticed this too. This is a rare thing. I think people constantly say this, like I like to hear you with a band, but you're better by yourself, or like I just like hearing you by yourself. Like so.
Well, I was gonna say the whole folk punk movement is nice because it's a stripped down sound. It is easier to do with one or two people. Like, I mean, how many acts out there have one or two and maybe three people? Like a lot, dude. I would say most of them, and that benefits an artist like yourself because, like you said, you can follow into this line of stuff, and then if you want to step outside of it, you always can do that. I think it's kind of cool to maybe record music however you want and then tour with your acoustic version of it, and it's super easy. You jump in a hatchback and do it like that instead of having to get a big ass van or whatever. I think I saw you touring with someone with like bright pink hair, and y'all were hanging out doing some things. I don't know if that was a tour or not, but
that's my friend Chandrika. She's I've known her for a long time. She plays in a band called Lilith, and I asked her if she wanted to go on tour playing bass for me, and she said yeah. She'd never been on tour before, and
cool.
Her drummer Rio, she came out as well and played drums. So like they really came through in a pinch like that, and like I would like to do more tours with them, but it's just like a matter of their availability and like they got their own band and all, and it's like but they were there. I could put whoever behind me playing. I have preferred people I'd rather play with who either can or can't come around, but because it's Matt Pless, the project essentially you can kind of fill in the background musicians like Frank Turner or like anybody bands do, so. But
Frank Turner's good.
that doesn't make any those people any less of important, like just because it's like not their project.
No.
Like they're like part of your they're in the trenches with you, they're important.
Well, going on tour solo might be a little easier, but having your friends along with you is going to be infinitely more fun, I would think. You know what I'm saying? I've only done small little Texas things, but like I would hate to go by myself if I had the option of taking my friends.
I did years and years of touring by myself because I was tired of like being around people and bands. I played in band. So I toured by myself for so long, probably 2013 through 16. I toured literally all those years nonstop around the country.
That's a lot.
I lived on the road for like 4 years nonstop. Like I would trim pot up in North California to save money up, then book myself down south through down California, back around south to the East Coast, go back home for Christmas and the holidays, then go back out. I did all over like 5.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Excuse me.
I did it. That's how I built the fan base, I guess, that I have. But I did all solo, and like it's easier that way, and you can just hop in the car and do it, and no one's got to tell you when or where you got to be someplace, or like no one's got to tell you that you can't stop at this like weird tourist trap or sit in the middle of the desert and like smoke pot by yourself or whatever, But I did learn. I learned with this recent tour I did with like Chandrika and Rio that there is something to having a band with you that you don't have solo, which I had not experienced in a long time, and I kind of made me sort of bummed out that I hadn't done more band stuff in my life, but there's still time. So I mean, but yeah, there's inside jokes you get to have. There's like a camaraderie of people that you have. It's a whole different experience. So
I have that with my buddies. We do a podcast together, like me and like some friends. We've been doing it for like since the shutdowns and everything. So we've been together for 3 years doing this together. So we have things that we do and say all the time that people are like, what? And we're like giggling and laughing. It's just like that kind of stuff. I tend bar it. You know what Alamo Drafthouse, the theater is?
I don't think so, no.
It's a theater. It's got a restaurant inside of it too, and they serve food while you're watching your movies. And like at the front of it, there's an actual like bar, and so I'm the bartender up there. And I only work like 2 or 3 days a week. It's just to get, I really like it up there. Is the real thing? Is I like being there. So it's supplemental income. But I was talking. I'm 41, and everybody else I work with for the most part is between the ages of like 18 and 22. And so there's a very weird dynamic. I'm like everybody's uncle there, I'm like the old tattooed guy. Like, oh, that's just Randall, dude. He's like our uncle up here. And so I was talking to one of these kids very recently, actually, and he was talking about how he wanted to play music and there was no way to do it because he couldn't get all these people together and this and that. And he didn't have a this and didn't have a that. I said, bro, you don't sound like you really want to do it. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, if you really wanted to do it, you could get 12 or 15 songs together that are good enough to actually play in front of people. You could just map out all over the stinking U.S. on a bus if you don't have a car and take your acoustic guitar and ride a bus from city to city. If you can find people that'll let you play in front of them, just go and do it. And he's like, that's insane. Nobody can do that. And I'm literally talking to somebody that's done it. You might have done it in a car, but he's did the same thing. It's not easy, but it's very much doable.
If you want to do it, you're going to do it, and you'll be DIY regardless because you're just going to do it. I mean, I think that's the difference between people who really want it and who don't want it. Like, if you want it, you're going to fucking do it. Like,
bro, I got a YouTube channel because I wanted to start doing it. I screen print shirts because I wanted to start doing it. I got a cassette label because I wanted to start doing it. I paint because I wanted to start doing it. Like, it has been I've had some daunting situations come up because I tried to do something that was maybe out of my league, I guess. But at least I tried it. I've never said that I wanted to do something and not tried it. So I've had some failures, but I don't even look at them as failures, man. I just learned a bunch. Like I've got a lot of knowledge on a lot of subjects, and it's I'm fixing to start a segment on this channel, I think, called DI Life, where it's spelled LYFE, so DILYFE. And I'm just going to show people like, here, this is what I do, because I get asked all the time, like, how do you do that? I'm like, bro, it's not hard. You just do it. Like, you Google it, look it up, find a YouTube video of some expert, follow their instructions to some degree, and you'll be all right. Like, I'm building a literal screen print like table because all the little machine things that were either A, really expensive, or B, had terrible reviews because they're cheaply made. I was like, I can make something like this out of wood. And so I went to the store this morning and bought the wood. I'm going to go make one. So I thought, why not film it? Like, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah, man. Fucking first step to fucking I personally believe, like, if you're only a failure if you don't try. You know, I mean, like,
Facts.
I mean,
100%.
I mean, if you don't, if you try something and it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to, doesn't mean you failed. It just means it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. It might work out a different way.
Right? Dude, I love your attitude, man. Straight up, bro. I feel like I've known you for 10 years, dude. It's weird. Yeah, are you in the process of doing any more writing right now? I know the last thing you put out was in March. That's been a little while now. Are you in the process of
I got a whole album ready to go. It's just
Nice.
Here's the thing. I got to record it. I got like 17 songs. I just haven't gone in the studio to record it. Partially because I'm sort of I'm in a spot where I put everything out on my own. I dumped it on Spotify, I dumped it on the internet, and like I'm only reaching I've hit this plateau where I'm sort of only getting to the people who know me now from touring and folk punk and all. And I really want to kind of break beyond that and get to more people, play bigger shows. And right now it's like I don't want to record this album and then have it just get lost in like the unknown of the internet again.
That is a weird position to be in, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm just but at the same time I can't just wait forever. But like,
right.
I mean, I'm trying like, what do I do? Do I find a producer? Do I find a really good label that finds like a good like producer and booking agent for me and gets me out in front of people as an opener for bigger tours? I mean, I don't know like what to do really. So I am talking to the guy, Pete from the Bouncing Souls, was expressed interest in recording stuff with me in January. My buddy Blind Adam in the Federal League, we just toured with them, and they know them, the Bouncing Souls. And I asked him if he could connect the dots for me, and he did. And Pete gave me a call and said he was interested in working with me. So we're gonna look at that on like I think it's the February 1st of the year. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I think that's pretty cool. So we'll go.
Dude,
with that.
I think that's awesome. Bouncing Souls is like a top 5 for me, bro. So Pete's
man.
awesome, bro. I love Bouncing Souls, man. I got Hopeless Romantic tattooed on my knuckles, bro.
Nice, man.
Let's go. Let's go.
There's a song by I think it's Hopeless Romantic actually, where he uses the word verklempt in it, and it's like something quite verklempt. I forget what song it is, but
hold on, I'm gonna look that up now while we're talking because I'm curious.
Because I have a song called "What You Will," and I wrote it like 20 years ago, and I remember I used the word verklempt in the song because I never heard it before except by the Bouncing Souls. And everybody's always like, "Well, what's that word? Where'd you hear that?"
How do you spell that word?
I don't know.
Oh, here we go. It's VERKLEMPT. What does it even mean? You clearly know more about that than I would. What does that word mean?
As I recall, it's like looking back on something deep in thought, maybe sort of sadly or melancholically or melancholic.
Oh, I knew it, dude. It's Bully in the Jukebox.
Bully in the Jukebox. Okay,
it is off Hopeless Romantic, bro.
Okay.
Dude, yes, bro. This just made my whole day, bro. Talking about the Bouncing Souls, dude. Hell yeah, bro.
No,
I hope you get to do something with them. That would be like a bucket list thing for me, man. Those dudes are great. I like them because they are a punk band that reaches outside of punk rock, bro. They're exactly what you're trying to do. Is that they're a punk rock band? But I know tons of people that have nothing to do with punk rock that like the Bouncing Souls. It's kind of like the Gaslight Anthem is similar.
Yeah, that realm. Yeah, the Bouncing Souls, all those bands in that kind of realm back then, like there's very specific. The attitude of them was really cool, back in the day when I was younger and growing up and listening to that. I'm in one of their videos actually. I'm in the
nice.
True Believers music video. My buddy and I went to CBGB's where they filmed it, and we got in it. And you can see me very clearly in the last frame wearing a Queers t-shirt with blonde hair when I was like 10 years old.
That's amazing, man. I had back in like 1996 maybe. Mm-hmm. I had this gray hoodie, and it just said the Queers across it, real big on the chest. And so my dad was like really kind of a conservative type, but he was like, it was weird because he was conservative, but he didn't seem to really give a shit that I would wear stuff like that. But like his brother was this like real bigoted type dude. And I'm from Houston. I don't know if you're familiar. We have a place called Westheimer in Montrose, where it's like a lot of the counterculture type folks, a lot of the LGBT plus community hang out there, live out there. And I would go out there to go thrifting all the time. And I mean, I'm personally straight, but I've got friends of all kinds. And so I would just go out there, and my uncle Duty would get so mad at me and tell me that I'm going to end up like them or some stupid, horrible thing. I've never talked to him after that. Like, it's been 28 years I haven't talked to my uncle. I don't even know if he's still alive. But because of that, I was wearing a Queers hoodie. Sorry, it just said Queer Shirt. I was like, oh, I remember I had a weird experience with that band. But see, that's what I consider pop punk, man. We were talking about like Newfound Glory and Fallout Boy. Like I get like Newfound Glory. Okay, they've got a lot of like connections to like the like legit hardcore scene and stuff. But like Newfound Fallout Boy, I guess they do too. I guess they all come from that stuff. But I don't really consider that stuff pop punk, really, man. I know most people do.
It's
But
not.
I'm thinking like Descendants, Queers, No Effects, even.
Yeah, no, my pop punk realm. I mean, I guess I would. That's like melodic. It's all melodic pop punk. I mean, dude, to me, it's like the fucking Sex Pistols are pop punk. Dude, they're catchy as shit. Ramones are fucking pop punk. It's all catchy, fucking 3-chord, like melodic music. In my mind, it all sort of falls under the umbrella of pop punk. It's poppy.
Yeah.
It's catchy. But I definitely put it. There's a difference between like the Newfound Glory, Blink 182, Fallout Boy, messed realm of pop punk, and like Green Day, Rancid, Screeching Weasel, Squirt Gun, etc. Mr. T.
Yeah.
There's a difference in style. One is much more gritty, sort of that gritty sort of East Bay sound that's I think started out there and lends itself more to I guess the early part. The whole like Sum 41, all that stuff was very clean cut. It was very like
I think it's
kind
generational too. It blew up, and then like there's a certain generation of pop punk bands that like sound a certain way. There are, but like I would say I call it overproduced, but like there's a very like you said clean cut produced sound. I had a video once where I was just like responding to a guy. I was doing it in jest. I wasn't trying to be a dick or anything, but he was like talking about like I think he called it punk rock bands, and it was all stuff that I wouldn't even consider pop punk. And I was like, I think it was talking about pop punk bands, and I threw out the Ramones. And dude, you would be shocked the amount of people that were like, the Ramones aren't pop punk, they're punk rock. And I'm like, dude, they started pop punk. What are you talking about? The Ramones? Like pop punk was essentially before punk rock. Like pop punk was a thing before street punk was. Like, what are we talking about here? And I was like, I'm probably talking to a 20-year-old, so I just need to shut up and not let it bother me. But like, it was very weird. I was surprised.
No, I've always sort of the earliest punk I guess I ever heard was probably God, I don't know. I guess the Ramones or Green Day when I was really young, and that to me was like it was catchy music. It's just catchy. Like I No FX. They're faster and a little harder, but they're still melodic.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that I wouldn't. There's other bands like Black Flag or something like that. There's even melodic aspects to their stuff. It's some of it. It's just like you just got to kind of extract it. I can make early Black Flag into a pop punk song. Some of it if I wanted to.
For sure. Well, I mean, everything is going to have to be melodic to a degree, or nobody's going to want to hear it. This is why black metal stuff only reaches a certain height. There's no melody and there's no catchiness to it at all. It's just these weird noises. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. People, whenever you say something is something, people always equate that to you saying that means it's good or bad. And I'm like, that's not what I said. I just said it was this. I explained that it was something, and you took offense to that because for whatever reason that triggered you. I mean, that's okay too. I don't really care, whatever, bud. But like, it's weird. It's a weird thing. Whenever it comes to music, people are extremely, extremely protective over it, I guess is the word I would use. But
to me, I think the same way you're thinking. I just, it doesn't mean it's good or bad. I'm just going to point out an obvious audio difference to something.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean you might like it. I might not like it. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I don't like it.
I've even gone as far as to do like on my record reviews, I'll give it like an objective score and a subjective score and like go here. I think objectively it's probably in this area over here. My personal taste, not too into it, or vice versa. Man, it's not really recorded very well, but I love it. And I think it's like a 10, but it's probably somewhere around a 6.5, really. Like songwriting is pretty good, but the recording quality is terrible. Whatever it is that I have to say about it. But I mean, when you
ska punk, I'm saying like it made me think of ska punk and stuff. Like ska, you get like the two-tone stuff. You have like the kind of ska punk 90s revival stuff that happened.
Right.
Like there's definitely a poppier aspect to like the pop punk ska, Less Than Jake, Real Big Fish type of Boss Tones thing, versus like the Specials or like.
Dude, that's exactly the bands I was thinking of too. Is those bands versus that band as far as like the difference in sound. Sorry to cut you off.
No, but that's it. It's not one's better than the other or anything. It's just there is.
No, they're just different.
But people are super protective of it. I I was way more into like the Real Big Fish style of stuff than Two Tone. I like some like of the first wave stuff, but ultimately it's a little more reggae influenced and slower. And I kind of like the fast, upbeat kind of like mosh pit kind of shit like from like the mid '90s ska punk boom.
Well, you even have stuff like Against All Authority, Suicide Machines, and Voodoo Glow Skulls. It is very, very, very fast.
Yeah. I used to love Against All. What was that album that had All Fall Down?
That's a great record.
Great. It's so there's but yeah, there's just this, and it's all as evolution. People just grow. It's gonna grow and it's gonna evolve, and like it's weird too. You think it's ska bands are interesting because like I don't see they're probably one of the hardest bands to start because you need all these people,
bro. Yes.
You need a huge fucking band. Like you gotta find horn players who just want to like show up and like do some background shit.
Can you imagine like being like Operation Ivy and being like, yeah, man, it's like a 4-piece ska punk band, and then like you start this whole thing, and then being like, yeah, in like 5 or 10 years, dude, there's gonna be guys with like 12-person bands playing this kind of music. They're like, what? What are you talking about, dude? No, they had that one little horn section in one of their songs, I think. I don't even think it was. Maybe it was a horn. It was some kind of weird wind instrument. But yeah, dude. That's amazing, dude. So, okay, it's hitting the hour point. I'm gonna get you out of here in a minute. What I want to ask 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'll let you get out of here. I'm sure you got plenty of stuff to do today. What are your handful of favorite bands that are just all timers for you? Is there something that you lean into when you want to get inspiration? Not necessarily like hear a song and then go write a similar song, but you just want to be inspired. You want to hear something that's great. What are your handful of bands that you really love?
Bright Eyes always is inspiring.
Let's go.
Yeah, Bright Eyes. I'll always love Bob Dylan. I'll always love Green Day.
Nice.
I think Eminem is like a really good lyricist, and people would have a problem with him. But I take out what he's saying and just look at how he says it.
Right.
Rhyme wise, like metaphors. It's how he structures his like writing. He's a genius. So I don't think like I'm not gonna take that away from him. That's an inspiring aspect of what he does. I'd say like those are bands that I will always be like on lock as like stuff that I will always think is great. Green Day never really fails for me. Like there's always something there I can dig. Ultimately if it's a good fucking song, good lyrics and fucking music, I will like it.
Nice.
I just like good songwriters, man. That's it,
That's awesome. Yeah, Eminem, he makes words that shouldn't rhyme, and I've always been fascinated by that. Like I've looked to him, even myself, and been like, if I could write even like 5% of what this dude can come up with, I would be a millionaire. And like the guy is so, he's old now. Okay, so am I. Whatever. we all it all happens. It happens to everybody.
His whole way of doing things like that. I remember I have a song where I was like, he talks about rhyming the word orange, and I was like, oh, it's easy to do. And I had a song where I was like, I gotta throw it in there just to fucking say I did. It's like, take warning because you're too far gone. Tick tocking like a clockwork orange. So it's just like it works, even though it's not exactly, but like it works. And
sounded good to me.
Yeah, he does that kind of thing all the time. He'll bend a word in a certain way, so like he can rhyme it unexpectedly, and that's what I like about that.
Oh, dude, like hip hop at its core is so punk rock that I love. I live in Houston, so we got our own style of stuff down here, but it's all the same thing at its core. It's a rebellious art form, and so I've always gravitated towards it anyway. To a certain degree, I'm more of a guitar-driven music guy at the end of the day, but I've got a lot of hip hop stuff in my record collection and things. But all right, last thing. This is something you probably weren't expecting me to ask you. It's similar to what I just said, but I'm gonna start doing this with everybody I talk to. Pick a song that you're listening to right now. Doesn't matter what genre it is that I can cover on the channel, and just tell people that it was your song that you picked.
Shit, what the hell?
It could be modern. As long as you're listening to it right now. It doesn't matter what era it came from, though.
There's this song called "Runaway Train." That's just on VHS. I don't know who sings it even. I have no idea. I can text it to you later.
Yeah, please do that.
It's called "Runaway Train." I don't even think it's recorded anywhere, but live. I don't know who sings it, but I'll let you know. Oh, also, what the fuck's his name? Carlisle, song called Cheap Cocaine. What the fuck's his name? I'm bad at remembering names. Brandy Carlisle. I'll send it to you too. I'll send them both.
Yeah, send me those two, and I'll cover them on the channel, dude. I appreciate your time. Do you get called Mike all the time?
Mike?
Yeah.
No.
Because I kept typing your name in. I know your name is Matt, but I was typing it in my phone, and my phone kept auto-correcting it to Mike. And I was like, I wonder if that happens to him all the time. If people call him Mike. I was like, that would drive me absolutely fucking nuts, dude. Like, to be called something similar but very different at the same time.
Well, that's why I wear the hat.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's dude, it has been so much fun talking to you, man. It flew right by. If you don't mind, and I see you dropping more music, I will likely reach back out for another talk if you have the time one of these days.
Yeah, no, this was great. It was really fun talking to you, man.
Absolutely, dude. Well, you got a forever fan now. I appreciate your time, bro. Go check out Matt Pless's music or Mike Pless's music if you can find it. I don't know where it exists, but it might. Let's go. Dude, thank you guys, man. We'll check y'all in the next episode of the Punk Rock Review Podcast, man. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.
Cool. See you, man.